Interesting stories on the front page of the Daily Trust. Welcome back if you're just joining. This is Daybreak on Trust Television. And of course, this is the newspaper review segment of the program. And as is customary, I have a copy of the Daily Trust with me. Lead story on the Daily Trust reads, FG proposes 47.9 trillion naira budget for 2025. Pegs crude oil at $75. Exchange rate at 1,400 naira to a dollar. Now, when you see this 1,400 naira to a dollar, you quickly remember the exchange rate and ask yourself whether, it's feasible or not. Well, it's currently at 1,007. Let's see how, this is workable. But then the budget is, of course, a tool. Moving on now to others, it says proposal too ambitious will balloon debt inflation figures according to experts. Also, Nigeria eyes $57.4 billion crude revenue as NNPC surpasses 1.8 million barrels per day. UBA to raise 239.4 billion naira through rights issue. Coalition condemns arrest of woman for criticizing banditry in Sokoto. Other stories there says concern over cash squeeze in states despite increased CBN supply. POS operators, customers accuse banks of rationing. Grains merchant mop up notes to visit local markets. Shortage in Ondo ahead of governorship elections. And these are some of the stories on the front page of the Daily Trust. We now go to the Nigerian Tribune. Nigerian Tribune leads with the Ondo election. It says military deploys troops, IGP orders tight security, INEC distributes sensitive materials to 18 local government areas. Also, PDP accuses ruling party of violating peace accord. It's an attempt to divert attention from your impending defeat, APC replies. Damagum, governors lead PDP final campaign rally. Also, NNPCL reaches 1.8 million barrels per day crude oil production, denies stopping fuel imports. Investment securities bill, CBN warns against new powers proposed by SEC by Senate. Another story there says FEC approve, of course, as is replicated on the Daily Trust, FEC approves 47.9 trillion naira for 2025 budget. And of course, the pictorial there shows the remains of the Chief of Army Staff, Lieutenant General Taoreed Lagbaja, arrive in Abuja on Thursday for his burial. And that's it for the Nigerian Tribune this morning. We now go to the Guardian. Big story on the Guardian is oil-backed loans, OPEC quotas threaten federal government's 47.9 trillion naira budget plan. Of course, another one says Ondo Guba election. The analysis reveals systemic distrust, voter apathy, economic hardship may mar poll. NHRC reports 427,000 human rights violations in October. Military, others will stay neutral. CDS vows as INEC distribute materials in Ondo. Also, we see NCC restricts mobile network operators to 7 tariff plans from 369. Interesting. And now let's go quickly to the Punch newspaper. Punch newspaper, top of the page, talks about the 47.9 trillion naira 2025 budget, which may be presented to the National Assembly soon. Lead story also on the Ondo poll. Military policeman boundaries, IG orders lockdown. Beavers, other materials arrive local governments. PDP governors ask electorates to defend votes. EFCC warns vote buyers. Another story there says IOM releases £668,000 for flood relief in Nigeria. 4 Kogi varsity lecturers dismissed for sexual misconduct. And UBA to raise 239 billion naira via rights issues. These are some of the stories on the Punch newspaper. And I now have joining me in the studio to provide some analysis and perspectives. The editor of 21st Century Chronicle, Madam Nuruddin Abdullah. Editor, good morning. Welcome to the program.
Good morning, Mr. Sagir.
Yes, so I really want to start from the issue of the budget, but I also want to ask your take on the National Security Advisor's, boisterous claims, the Tinubu gains. What do you make of it? Perhaps you've benefited from some of these gains.
Okay, it's a fact that some gains were recorded in the last 1 year and a half. So, but I think the NSA is speaking more like a politician, that a security man who is in charge of our country security architecture. Particularly the last, if you look at the footages of him, that whoever tackled Tinubu will fail. He reminded me of one politician in Kaduna who is now neither here nor there, that he was boasting that two former presidents joined issues with him. He sent one to the grave and he sent one to the village in the Niger Delta. So the NSA is towing that line. Yes, even though some of his submissions are highfalutin, and cannot be backed with any empirical evidence, but actually they are against. But come to think of it again, we still have ungoverned spaces in the country. Look at the Lakurawa. I think Nigeria by now we should have, particularly with our experiences, we should have be able to guard our ungoverned spaces. Our intelligence agencies should be able to realize that some miscreants are infiltrating the country.
Indeed, editor, one would expect that perhaps with the experiences that, Nigerians are still recovering from the trauma of Boko Haram. We still see the impact of banditry till date. One would expect that perhaps we have a security architecture that prevents the permeation of these bandits and terrorist emergence.
These people have been there for more than a year. If you listen to what locals are saying. So where are the security chiefs? What happened to our intelligence gathering mechanism? The fact that these people are here and they are in two local governments despite series of denials by agents of government at the local, state and the federal level, but they are there, the locals are saying it. Slaughtering some local chiefs. They have taken over the governance of some of the areas. If you come to Birnungwari, if the same thing, come to Niger State. What is happening to Zingeru Power Project? We couldn't even properly commission it after it was completed during the Buhari's days. You remember at the tail end of the administration, on the eve of the commissioning, bandits slaughtered about 35 military men. And ever since, nobody is talking about Zingeru.
Quiet.
Because it is located on some ungoverned space. Well, let's remind the NSA what the TCN people are experiencing.
Even currently. We saw one in Jos happen very recently.
Do you understand? It is not enough just to say, okay, arm-wielding bandits or miscreants, terrorizing the country. They are attacking our infrastructure. 17 states in northern part of the country where the NSA comes from. We are in darkness for good 2 weeks. Reason being that our towers have been vandalized. The TCN, the NSA has no capacity. And look at it. You remember there are all manner of propaganda things. Yes, the TCN people could not reach the vandalized tower because the place is governed by
bandits.
So instead of trumpeting, Tinubu has 2.5 years to the next election. Politics apart. Let the NSA concentrate. Let their actions speak for themselves. You can't tell somebody in Gudu or that the two local governments in Kebbi, which were hitherto peaceful before this Lakurawa, whatever, infiltrated.
I mean, we had a caller from Borno. He says, Mohammed from, I think, Dikwa, mentioned that till date, farmers still pay kickbacks to terrorist organizations to access the forest to get firewood.
How many kilometers from here to Borno?
Quite.
That's far. Go to Niger.
Interesting. Okay.
In neighboring states, go to Niger.
Similar situation.
Exactly. Go to Sokoto. You may mention of a lady who was arrested, secretly tried, and hounded into prison
for condemning.
For just in saying that what the displaced people are having issue in the. So there are enough in the basket of the NSA to concentrate on instead of trumpeting tinubu this, tinubu. Let him focus first. All these are issues.
But then, I mean, editor, we can't take away the fact that in all of these, Nigeria needs money, a lot of it, to address these problems. So perhaps then the news that Nigeria had ramped up crude production to 1.8 million barrels came, with some sort of relief. Or is that not the case?
Even during the Buhari days, our target was 2.2 million. That's the OPEX.
Of course.
We couldn't make it.
Yes. I mean, we were struggling with 1.2, and now we're at 1.8. According to him, like you mentioned, there's no empirical evidence to back up that.
Exactly. So it's a good news. But more to that, the ramp up our FAC allocations. Your state that was getting 3 billion, now the governor is getting up to maybe 10 billion.
True.
But the poverty level is being deepened. We used to have a sort of, formal middle class. Yeah, you can send your kid to a neighborhood, private school. You can fuel your car. You know how to feel. In the last 1.5 years, that section of the demography in the country is being forcefully eroded. People are not trekking. People are changing. We used to be 313 or whatever. People eat now.
001.
Feeding is symbolic. I was discussing with somebody. It's symbolic. Let's just have breakfast. Have a love is better than none. Not to your feel. Majority. Go to the villages. They can on a fire. That's symbolic. If it is evening, you will see the mother. Go to the kitchen and what if you. All this should be issues of concern. Yes. What is happening to the money? And when talking about capital projects, let's talk about the North, for instance, the 19 other states. Less than 5. There are not more than 5 where when you go, you will see physical evidence that yes, the governor here knows what he's doing. So all these things are issues. You are getting money, but people are becoming more hungrier. Then what is the...
Indeed, editor. And on the heels of that, we see the federal government propose a 47.9 trillion naira budget for 2025. This in one way or the other would mean more money for governors in one way, but then how about the citizens?
Our economy, we slipped about 4th position from 430 or 40. Remember, as of 2020, 2022, we are now about 199. That I'm talking about the volume of our economy. We slip back South Africa, Egypt, Algeria. We're in the 4th position now. But even at that, to be fair to the government, this is about 28 billion US dollars, right?
Give or take.
It's still not enough for 230 million people. The 4th richest country in Africa. And what if you. But the most important, let's look at the specifics. Last year you pegged your budget at, is it 850 or 800? Now you have officially made it 1,400. It means that the floating of the naira has come to stay.
Captured the budget. Has captured the budget.
You understand? Compare it. You mention it with even the 27, which later became 35. You understand? It was about 35 billion.
Indeed. Still way more than this one.
Should be a major source of concern. You mentioned about the debt from about less than 90 trillion to about 135.
135.
Every country, the most indebted country in the world is the most richest, the United States, followed by China. I don't know what if you, debt is good for any economy, but when it is
utilized properly.
Get your priorities right. When with almost this money, with almost 28 trillion deficit, that you don't even know where you'll get it from. More importantly, we are not even creditworthy. The AKK project has stopped. The Kaduna Abuja rail has stopped. The Kano Maradi rail has stopped. The Lagos Ibadan, most of these projects, because we don't have creditors to fund it. What you guys are doing now is portfolio funding.
Guys, because I mean, you're trying to add me to the Federal Executive Council now. You said, okay.
So you know all these things now. These are the things that really affect Nigerians.
Indeed.
Enough of flaunting figures. What the poor man, what the common man who has been managing before now, but he has now forcefully thrown into the throes of poverty. After poverty now, he wants a food on his table. He should be able to send his kid to school. With this, it is not sort of concern. You need a civil service to work. Most of the federal government agencies in Abuja now, it's 2 working days. Because the worker cannot afford transport money to come to work. Shouldn't that be a major source of concern?
And don't you think all of this would play out? I mean, tomorrow is the Ondo governorship election, Saturday, November 16th. Voter apathy is a concern, mistrust is a concern, political manipulation is a concern. I know you've been observing these issues closely. What are some of the things that you think would play out tomorrow, Saturday?
Without barring any last minute something, what happened in Ondo will happen. You know, the federal government has been given a template now by most of the state governors. The election being conducted by INEC is not far different from the elections conducted by Bosani in Kaduna. The Reverend Father in Benue, the pastor in Akwa Ibom, that was even dashing the victory of somebody to another person. So the federal government has adopted that model. Very bad for democracy. You know, we thought that Benue is a man of God, but look at what happened. Look at what happened. A pastor in Akwa Ibom. The election has been conducted, completed, returned.
We saw it happen in your state too, editor. We saw
maybe it was fair.
But we saw it happen in Kano. This is a sad situation.
I think it's a very sad situation. Our democracy has been threatened. When people cannot freely elect the people they want.
But there's another saying, editor, that, I mean, who you see in government is more or less a reflection of those outside. So, I mean, how do Nigerians now begin to address these issues of ensuring that those with the right capacity get into office?
I don't want to say that, all these issues that develop the economy is because of the naivety or gullibility and wickedness of the ruling elite.
You don't
when you elect, no, I'm just a journalist.
Okay.
A journalist.
Let's not say that then.
I think better.
Okay.
When you elect people based on their demography, the faith they publicly profess, the region they come from, not their track record. Where is the Tinubu manifesto in the first place? Yeah. In your state, what did he tell you he will do when elected? In my state, what did he say he will do? That's not like that. It's my turn. Money allegedly was shared to some of the big guys, the governors in Abuja. They went back to their state, they were buying spaghetti, noodles, talia. We call it in Hausa talia. So when you are in a situation whereby you have a Talia in spaghetti induced mentality, and you go to vote, you have no right to complain. Or when simply because you are electing Mr. Sagir, because he professes the same faith as you, isn't it a Muslim, whatever? So how can you complain? It's faith. You should have no right to hold them accountable because you voted for them in the first place, not because of what you believe they can do. It's because they go to the same mosque you go. So what right do you have?
So until we begin to see a change.
That's it.
So which means Nigerians, one way or the other, are part of the problem.
Apparently. But the poor people particularly, they have weaponized poverty. But we still have that right. There should be dignity and poverty. Somebody collected, let's say, 10 million, 20 million, and he's buying a carton. No single individual, where I observed the last election, was giving a carton. Just 1p as of that time was not more than 400 naira.
And that was enough to
with 500 naira. And that is enough to sell your franchise, you understand? So we have to look at it inward and look at the poverty now. And that's why you can't hold them accountable. I did not vote for you to fix Abuja Kaduna road, even though you can equally initiate a 15.6 trillion coastal road. Or you are doing another one from Badagiri to Sokoto to be used by who? Look at the priorities. So unless Mr. Sagiri, you want to be this and this, what do you have for me? A lady, I don't want to mention them, said something at that time. She was insulted. But unfortunately, the government is forcefully vindicating. So we have to look at, we have to take our civic responsibilities very seriously.
Well, it's a sad situation indeed, a really sad one. Thank you so much, Editor Amin, for bringing all of this to fore. It's important that Nigerians, you understand that as much as you're complaining about the problem, you might as well be a part of the problem. I mean, having a Talia-induced voting, decision is not going to save Nigeria. Neither is it going to save you. I understand that the situation is terrible. A lot of Nigerians, unfortunately, because of the leaders that we have in office, are becoming poorer by the day. But is it enough to collect maybe one piece of spaghetti or 1,000 naira and suffer the remaining 4 years in silence, or complaining and bickering about the same people you voted for because they bought your vote? I believe this is something that we Nigerians should, spend time pondering over as 2027 approaches. But with that, we wrap up Daybreak this morning. It's been a journey indeed from 8 a.m. up until this point. If you missed any part of the program, simply head to our social platforms and also especially our live stream on YouTube and Facebook to get more details and, of course, more news programs and information. And with that, we wrap up the show. My name is Sagir Ibrahim, and up next is 360 Sports. Do stay. Have a lovely weekend.